Guys, welcome into my official college football line movement video here for week number 9, where we look through and find, who's betting on who, where's the money going, and I discuss every single game. So starting East Carolina, BYU, the big action here is on the over. The over-under opened at 60.5. It's gone to 63. I still like the over in that game. That game is happening tonight. Another game happening tonight, Louisiana Tech and FIU. Louisiana Tech now just 6.5-point favorites, and the over-under is pretty stagnant at 57. Of course, FIU had that crazy win last week against Charlotte. Next, we've got Old Dominion and FAU. There apparently is no data on that. Oh, these games, it does this. All right, here we go. Now, we've got TCU, West Virginia. TCU is still a 7.5-point favorite. That over-under is up to 68.5. Oh my goodness, it opened at 63. It's your typical noon shootout. We're all thinking the same thing on that one. Arkansas and Auburn. Arkansas right now 3.5-point favorites. The over-under right at 62.5. Toledo, Eastern Michigan. There's been money that has come in on Eastern Michigan at home. Wow. And the over-under all the way down 4 points to 54.5. So there's money coming in on Eastern Michigan and the under. Personally, I like Toledo to win this game by 10 points. Eastern Michigan is not a good team, and I still have faith in Toledo even after their loss. Notre Dame and Syracuse right now, the line 2.5. There's money that's coming on Notre Dame, and there's also money coming in on the over. That's been pushed to 47.5 right there. We've got South Florida and Houston. We love Houston minus the 17.5, and I also like the over. So right now, the over sitting at 59.5. Love the over in that game. I think Houston has a chance for a 50 burger. Boston College and UConn. Money coming in on UConn at home. That's not surprising. Boston College sitting at 7.5-point favorites. They've been that for much of the week, and the over-under sitting at 44.5. That really hasn't changed. We've got Miami of Ohio and Akron. There is no data on that game, although I can just tell you guys right now, Miami of Ohio is around 8-point favorites in that one. Next, we've got Ohio State and Penn State. So that opened minus 14. It's kind of stagnated. It was sitting at around minus 15.5 throughout some of the week. It's since come back down to 14.5, and the over-under. There's a lot of public money on the under in this Ohio State-Penn State game, but I do still maintain the opinion that Penn State is good value at home, plus the 14.5 or plus the 15, whatever betting site you use. It'll be a little bit different. We've got Georgia Tech and FSU. Florida State, 24.5-point favorites. They've been trending significantly. Nobody betting on Georgia Tech in that one, so that'll be interesting. We've got Oklahoma and Iowa State. So Oklahoma, I think that was a preseason line where they were -3. They've pretty much been -1 to -2 the entire week, and the over-under is pretty much stagnant. Miami and Virginia. Miami is maintaining that 2.5-point spread. I think it went down to 2. Now it's back up to 2.5. There's a lot of professionals on Miami, even after their bad performances, to win this game and cover the spread. It's not surprising. Virginia is the walking dead at this point. They're horrible, especially their offense. Charlotte and Rice. Rice maintains the 16.5-point favorite, and then we've got the over-under down to 59.5. Charlotte, one of the worst losses last week. They fired their coach. Not surprised to see people betting against them. Rutgers and Minnesota. I love the under in this game, so the over-under is right at 40.5, and Minnesota right now 13.5-point favorites. That line has moved 1 point in Rutgers' favor. Old Dominion and Georgia State. So I remember this line being -4. It's really been right around 3.5. Right now it's sitting at 3.5, and I love Old Dominion in this, possibly to win this game outright. You've got the over-under that's plummeted to 54.5. North Texas and Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, 9.5-point favorites. That over-under has come down a little bit, predictably, because it's 71.5. Anytime you get an over at around 71 like that, more times than not, the general public's going to bet that down because they find value in the under. Next, we've got Florida taking on Georgia in the neutral site game. A little bit of money coming in on Florida. Just 1 point. Georgia, 22.5-point favorites. The over-under maintaining the same. Robert Morris and Appalachian State involves an FCS team. So also Robert Morris is 0-7 apparently. So they're horrible. Appalachian State's probably going to win that game like 56-0. Illinois and Nebraska. Illinois up to -7.5. Everyone loves the under in this game. The under 50.5. That's one of the best bets. New Mexico and UMass. New Mexico sitting 1.5-point favorites. And the over-under has been bet up a point to 38.5. Wake Forest and Louisville. I'm guessing that was a preseason line. I don't remember ever seeing Wake Forest 4.5-point favorites. I think they opened -4, and it's been bet down to -3.5. I do think there is good value here on Louisville, and we've got the over-under at 63.5. Cincinnati and UCF. So I've seen different opinions on this game. It's saying UCF opens as a half-point favorite. I believe in this game, from what I've seen, Cincinnati was 1-point favorites, and now the line has swung pretty drastically, and now UCF is 2-point favorites. That's what I've seen. Northwestern and Iowa. Iowa remains 10.5-point favorites. That over-under has been at 37.5 for much of the week. Oregon and California. So yeah, there was a ton of movement on Oregon earlier in the week, and now they're all the way to 17.5-point favorites. No one is betting on Cal, but except that the experts are actually betting on California, believe it or not, to cover the 17.5-point spread. They find good value in Cal and their defense at home. SMU and Tulsa, pretty stagnant, although the over-under has dropped significantly down to 64.5. I would probably agree with that. Oklahoma State and KSU. Right now, Kansas State sitting at 1.5-point favorites. There's major concerns with the quarterback situation for Kansas State. How healthy is Adrian Martinez? That's kind of why this line is currently in flux right now. Temple and Navy. Navy sitting at 13.5-point favorites. A lot of people love Temple to cover this spread plus the 13.5. People also love Missouri right now. You see South Carolina opening -5.5. It's all the way down to 3.5. A lot of people going in on Missouri, right after South Carolina gets ranked. People think they're going to be a one and done. People think they will lose. Next, we've got South Alabama and Arkansas State. So this line has been bet down pretty drastically. It's down to South Alabama -9.5. The over-under remains the same pretty much. Colorado State and Boise State. Boise State still 27.5-point favorites, and the over-under has been bet down to 42.5. Coastal Carolina and Marshall. Marshall sitting at 2.5-point favorites. There's been a lot of money going in on Marshall. We do think Coastal Carolina are frauds, so that's not surprising. We've got Kentucky and Tennessee. Tennessee, this line, I don't think it opened at 11.5. I think this line opened at 14, and it was bet down to 11.5. And yeah, guys, if you could get the under 63.5, I told everyone to take it. The over-under in that game is down to 61 because it's just a ball control game. Tennessee's had a great offense. They're due for kind of a letdown performance, in my opinion. USC and Arizona, that over-under is still 76.5. Wow. And the USC -15.5. That's maintained the entire week. UAB and FAU. UAB currently 3.5-point favorites. That surprises me a lot, unless there's an injury. I did see UAB went down to 4.5 because originally it opened at 5. It got bet up to 5.5. Then it was down to 4.5. Now they're saying it's down to 3.5. But as you can see, a lot of money going in on UAB. That is not surprising at all. Baylor and Texas Tech. Texas Tech maintains 2.5-point favorites. I would say to go in on Baylor to win that game outright. Ole Miss and A&M. We've got Ole Miss right now, 1.5-point favorites. The over-under, I would say the under 54 is a lock. Any game involves A&M. We've got MSU and Michigan. So that was a preseason line. Michigan minus the 14. Michigan, a lot of people betting on them. They're sitting at minus 22 right now in the over-under up to 54. Arizona State and Colorado. Arizona State, a lot of money coming in on them. The public is fading Colorado, not surprising. The over-under is maintaining. We've got Pittsburgh and UNC. UNC still right around a 3-point favorite. And people betting on the over in this game. That doesn't surprise me at all, considering both of those offenses, especially North Carolina's offense being really good and their defense being really bad. Middle Tennessee State and UTEP. UTEP, 2.5-point favorites. They've pretty much been that this entire week. I think it went down to 1.5 at one point, but now they're back up to 2.5-point favorites. Nevada and San Jose State. We've got San Jose State sitting minus 24.5. Nevada is horrible. The over-under in that game is 44, and I'd probably take the under. Stanford and UCLA. There's been a lot of money I've seen being placed on UCLA. It seems like there's significant movement there. I believe this spread opened minus 14 or 15. Here it's saying 16.5. I don't think that's correct. And the over-under at 66. San Diego State and Fresno State. I would certainly take the under in this game. Fresno still 8.5-point favorites. We've got Wyoming and Hawaii. This is the 11:59 game. Wyoming still the 10.5-point favorites in that one. The over-under sitting at 50.5. So that is all of the line movement for the Saturday games, guys. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.